Subscribe to Joe Polo 10.
Joe Dumars is the MVP.
Detroit basketball.
Pistons fans, so in today's video, we are going to be discussing Marvin Bagley and this Pistons team as a whole. But I have a special guest that I want to share with you guys, my guy, Mike. What is up, bro?
What's up, man?
Finally here on the channel, bro.
Finally here, man. I've been a loyal Joe Polo subscriber. We tried to collaborate a while back, so I'm glad to finally make it happen. Great to be here.
All right, man. So let's start off with Marvin Bagley. He recently got traded to the Detroit Pistons from the Sacramento Kings. We gave up Trey Lyles, Josh Jackson, and the second-round pick. And in return, we get Marvin Bagley. So first, I just want to know, what was your thoughts and opinion on that trade?
Even like pre-Cade, I loved Marvin Bagley. Just his build. I loved what he was able to do. And I thought that he was obviously going through a weird situation in Sacramento. So just to get him for what we got back, especially, or for what we gave away, Trey Lyles, Josh Jackson, who were two good pieces of the team, but when it happened, I was ecstatic. I thought we robbed them. I don't know. What did you think, though?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Trey Lyles and Josh Jackson, fine players, solid role players on the bench, but for the most part, they're what you call expendable guys who aren't necessarily dudes that you have long-term plans for in the future of your team. So when it comes to getting someone like Bagley, I was cool with giving those two guys up.
And my thing too, I looked at it and I was like, there's no way. If you would have told me think about this, 3 years ago, like 3 drafts, you're like Marvin Bagley. You know that guy who's like warming the bench? I think at the time Trey was in Minnesota. He might have been in Europe. I think he might have been in Bulgaria, wherever Trey was at. Josh Jackson, who I think was in Mexico at the time.
Yeah.
They're gonna get traded for the number 1 pick in the draft, Marvin Bagley. I would have cried. Like, I would have legitimately started crying. And it just made me so happy to see that trade go through and them to make it happen as quickly as it did, especially with Trader Troy. I'd take Bagley over Bol all day.
When it comes to Bagley specifically, Pistons fans have been discussing a lot of things with him, but I want to hear your thoughts about his comparison to Andre Drummond. I've seen that around a lot in discussions on Pistons forums. People tend to compare him to Andre Drummond. What do you think about that?
Okay, I think that comparison, while it might be, I don't know how to say this. I don't really agree with it because Andre Drummond was a player that I looked at him and I was like, yo, he's going to get 20 and 10 a night. But you remember watching those games, you would forget he was on the court. Like you forget Andre was on the court at times. Like, Bagley is making his like presence known. You know that he's on the court. You're seeing his chemistry with Cade, and I think that the Drummond comparison, I think he's a better player, like long-term fit-wise and everything than Drummond was. I don't really know where like you stand on it though. So like, what do you think about Dre? Like,
I see it a little bit, because both of those are big men who typically operate out of the post and can't really score from the perimeter. So I can see it in that aspect, but it's two completely different situations in my opinion. Marvin Bagley, he's not a guy that you're going to build your team around. We're building around Cade Cunningham, whereas Andre Drummond was a guy who, mistakenly at the time, the Pistons decided to build around because he's not a number 1 type guy. Drummond at best was a number 3 option. So the comparison from Marvin Bagley to Andre Drummond, I can see it in some ways, but for the most part, two completely different situations.
Exactly, bro. You hit it right on the head. I think people are looking at our bad perception of Dre and putting that on Bagley, but the Bagley comparison is more true than what we thought about for Drummond.
Yeah.
Because remember, you had that roster at the time. Like, think about the way that roster was when Andre Drummond, 2013-14, when he was looked at as the future of the team. And they let Greg Monroe go, and Greg Monroe signed an insane contract with the Bucks. And you're like, okay, yeah, it gets shooters around Dre. But right at that time, the Warriors come out of nowhere, and they're like, wait a minute, 3 is worth more than 2.
Yeah.
And this is more of a team that is built for this generation of basketball, too. So you got to factor that in. Like, Bagley's game, I think, is better than Dre's in terms of, like, future outlook. Because Andre Drummond's still very young.
Yeah, true. He's still in his 20s at this current point in time.
That's crazy.
And my next question in terms of Marvin Bagley, do you see him being a long-term fit with the Pistons, or do you think this is a short-term thing? Because he does have his contract technically expiring at the end of the season. He will be an RFA. And if the Pistons decide to, they could just choose to let him walk. So, what are your opinions on, do you believe he'll be here long-term, or do you think this is a short-term type thing?
Well, I think it can be both, if that makes sense. So on one hand, you're seeing how Cade does with a lob threat. You're seeing how Cade does with a big man like Bagley, and they're similar guys coming up in this year's draft. So you could see maybe it's a short-term thing for him, but I really do think it's more long-term. He's not going to demand like a max contract or anything. It'll probably be a pretty reasonable, albeit a little more pricey deal than you'd get with a lot of other guys. But being an RFA, that's great.
Yeah.
So I think he's more of a long-term fit. Is he the guy? No, but is he someone who down the line is going to be a big contributor? I think yes.
And my opinion on it is I'm still a wait and see type of thing with him. I want to see how he performs for the rest of the season because now he's coming off of the bench. He's playing behind Isaiah Stewart, and we haven't really gotten to see him and Cade Cunningham play together for a long extended period of time. So for me, at least, I still want to see those two guys play together so we can see, the full force of Marvin Bagley on the Pistons this year.
Speaking of Isaiah, what are your thoughts on having, and some people have thrown this out there, Stu at the 4 and Bagley at the 5 and running that?
Honestly, I would prefer Bagley to just replace Stu if he's able to. Because for me, what I've noticed with Isaiah Stewart, he's one of those type of players who he succeeds when he has help out there. If it's just Isaiah Stewart, he's 6'8", 6'9". There's not much he can do if he's the only big man on your team. But if you have someone else who can take pressure off of him, and someone like Marvin Bagley, I feel like that's when he can have a lot of success.
My comparison for Isaiah has always been Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah,
in terms of the role that I want him to have on this team, where he thrives and where you can plug and play him, especially needing guys around him to get it done, but still being great defensively. Obviously, you need a beef stew on every team. Like, bro, he was trying to fight the Celtics today.
Yeah, that's true.
He was trying to fight the Celtics. Dude,
smart, yep.
People forget, first of all, we talked about this because I had those tickets. I didn't end up going. I slept in. This dude woke up at 8 in the morning, and 4 hours later, is I'm about to go fight 2 grown-ass men. That is a different type of player I want on my team.
Yeah, that's true. Stu does that pretty often. I was looking at some recent highlights from the Pistons this entire season, and Stu fights a lot of people. He really does. But my next question when it comes to Bagley is, how do you think this will affect the draft? Do you still think the Pistons will be likely to take a big man, or will we switch to a guard or a forward position with the addition of Bagley?
Shoot, man. I don't know. I think that it can go 2 ways. So if you get the top pick, if you go number 1, you got 2 big men right there.
Yeah.
Right there. You got 2 big men. And Bagley, I don't know if Troy's going to be willing to go all in on him yet and be he's the future. But I've always thought if we can get a good shot creating 2, and I know Killian and Cade running that backcourt has been fine, but I feel like I've always felt if we can get a guy who's a shooting guard who can come out there and just get it done and just be that scorer on the wing with Cade, just to be unstoppable. Because Killian, like I said, I think Stu and Killian are very great players, but do you feel that both of them need to be in the starting lineup every night? Or do you feel like it's more of a necessity now?
Well, Killian and Cade?
Yeah, Killian and Stu. No, obviously Cade. I want Cade to run the team at this point.
Well, for me, at least getting back to what you said in the draft, and talking about, adding possibly a shooting guard to this team, a scoring guy next to Cade. There is a guy coming out in this draft named Ivy. If you don't know who he is, in the comment section below, he's basically a very similar prototype to John Morant, except he's a tier below him coming out in the draft. So, it's a tough situation because we did just draft, guards in back-to-back years, but we did just add someone like Bagley. But as you said, I don't think that Troy Weaver is necessarily going to be focusing in on, putting all his chips into the Bagley basket. So it's an interesting topic.
You don't give up 2 good role players and a second-round pick for your future, even if it is a robbery. You never, if he was throwing out first round picks with that, then okay, yeah, we're not taking a center, first of all, because we don't have a pick. But second of all, he just sees a project player, and that's what I've loved about Troy is with the draft, he's just going to play it by ear. And by June, Marvin Bagley might be signed to a different team, or at least the Pistons renounce the rights, and they're like, "No, you're good, bro. Like you can go somewhere else."
Hey, and there are some guys out there like Mitchell Robinson, for example, who will be a restricted free agent. His contract is going to be up, and the Pistons do have $31 million available in cap space this offseason. So we could just let Bagley walk and go get another big, and then in the draft go best available.
Yeah, and that's why I asked about the Killian and Cade thing. Is like, if that's what that depends on. Is where do you like, in terms of where we go in the draft? I think it really hinges on the way that Killian Hayes is viewed in the front office.
Yeah, that's true.
They view Killian Hayes more than they view Marvin Bagley.
Because Killian Hayes right now, they're doing this little experiment where Corey Joseph running in the starting lineup. They want to see what Killian Hayes can do off the bench, and listen to Dwayne Casey and what he says about Killian Hayes. He believes this is the right place that he needs to be right now for him to improve. And then himself, he claims that he's comfortable, being off the bench right now. So I don't know, man. I'm just going to continue to watch for the rest of the season, see if he can have success off the bench. And if he can, then maybe you go and get somebody else in the draft. But there's another player that we haven't really discussed about, Hamidou Diallo, who is your, he's kind of a wing guy who could be that scoring threat next to Cade.
I think he's a great player, obviously. And once again, for who? Svi Mikhailuk was that trade? No, that was it. Yeah. Or was it the other guy with the big name?
No, it was Svi. Because Diallo came from OKC.
So you traded that for Hami, and once again, I feel like he's a good piece for the future. I really want to know what you think first, because he's such a fun guy to watch. But like, does he deserve to be in the starting lineup every night? And like, again, what's the role of the future?
True, because especially with the way that he plays off the bench, he comes into the game and just gives an immediate punch, a lot of energy. Especially right now with Kelly Olynyk not playing up to expectation and level that we thought he was. Having someone like Hamidou Diallo to stay on the bench is really good for us right now. But at the same time, you don't know what him and Cade Cunningham in the starting lineup could do.
Yep, we've gotten tastes of it, but like, I want the whole load, to quote Paul Pierce. I want the whole load, and we gotta. I want to see the whole experience with them, but I think the Pistons are in a great position in terms of they rounded their bench out. I feel like before they rounded their starting positions out. It's for development reasons and just trying to see where guys fit. But I appreciate Troy doing that and Dwayne Casey for going along with it. Of like, yo, we're gonna try our, you could say perceived like next star talent, and just put them on the bench and buy into that, be cool with it, and know that their time's coming for it.
Yeah, that's true. And then my last question before we get up out of here, tying it back to Marvin Bagley, what do you think is the biggest thing that he can improve on right now as a player?
I think shooting.
Shooting, okay.
Yeah. Give him a better jumper. I'd love to see Marvin Bagley with a little bit more of like a deeper threat where it's like reliably going in and going, oh yeah, when he gets around that pick and roll, he could fade out. And I couldn't imagine how that would work with Cade. Like, I can, like, in a good way. Like, that would be insane. So shooting, other than that, I think he just needs to get more comfortable just with the role, finally getting his opportunity in Detroit, where I think this is the first time in his career he can really say that he's probably been fully trusted and, fully invested in, and there's people in a team that wants to work around him. Where are your thoughts on that, though?
I agree that that's something that he does need to get better with.
Yeah.
Something else that I think is more of an issue for him right now is rebounding. In this recent game against Boston, I believe he finished with 4 rebounds on the night, and for me personally, at least, it's kind of unacceptable for him being a guy who's 6'11", around 235 pounds. I would prefer for him to go out there and get more rebounds, especially to help out Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah.
Kelly Olynyk, he's a guy who can't get rebounds himself. So we definitely need someone to help out this team in the rebounding category. And so far, in the games that he's played, he hasn't really helped in that area. So that's my thing right now that I want him to improve on.
Yeah. That was even my second thing. I was more just thinking offense, because that's where I feel like I love watching him, is just offensively. And the rebounding, amazing point, because who's going to get him, and you get down into a third quarter, fourth quarter situation where you need that extra rebound, and you're trying to rest guys and bring in Bagley or whoever, and you just can't get a board to save your life.
today against Boston. That
Yeah.
literally happened. Yes.
You can't get it, and that's again where I see why we would probably go after if Marvin doesn't show improvement in that aspect. See what happens in the draft.
But to wrap up this video, where can they find you on social media?
So right here is my name at Mike Carice. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I don't know. I kind of am finally finding my direction in my content. I do meme edits. I do hype reels. I do skits. I do like some full-time YouTube videos, which I'm trying to get better on. Because Joe, you're this way. You are the king of consistency. I gotta show you some love on your own stream, man. Your channel is freaking great, and you are like the embrace of the grind that everybody needs. I think you have the same mentality as Dame Lillard and the same amount of rings, so I got to give that to you.
I'm doing good and all, but I'm not TikTok famous. You feel me? That's what I'm trying to get like.
Yeah, hey, bro, that's all it is. But yeah, follow me there if you enjoyed hearing me talk. And that about does it for me.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please make sure you guys like this video. Give me the 5K subscribers. I'm like 60 people away. So please, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. And I'm out. Peace.